I caught my girlfriend crying on the bathroom floor while holding a pregnancy test, and before she even spoke, I already knew the child wasn't mine. That moment hit me like a punch to the gut, but I kept quiet because I needed to see how far she would go with her lie. What she didn't know was that I had already uncovered the truth about her secret nights out, and this time I was prepared. My name is Joel, I'm 31, and I had been with my girlfriend Nina for 3 years. We met through mutual friends and hit it off immediately. She was fun, warm, and always had this magnetic energy that drew me in. For the first 2 years, everything felt perfect. We spent weekends at home, traveled occasionally, cooked together, and talked about building a future. She would always tell me how lucky she felt to have someone loyal and steady like me. At the time, I believed every word. I thought we were growing stronger. I thought we were aligned. I thought she was my forever. But things changed around the beginning of our 3rd year together. Her phone was suddenly glued to her hand. She started dressing differently before going out with her friends. Nights out became more frequent, and her explanations grew shorter. Whenever I asked who she was with or when she'd be back, she acted annoyed or accused me of being controlling. I tried to ignore the signs, thinking she was just going through a phase, but the pit in my stomach kept growing. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. I wanted to trust her. I wanted the woman I loved to actually love me back. One night, she told me she was out with her friends, but I noticed her social media stories didn't match what she told me. The background, the voices, the angle of certain photos. It didn't feel right. I felt sick. I couldn't sleep. A few days later, I caught a glimpse of her phone lighting up with a message preview that made my heart stop. It was from a guy named Ron. I didn't recognize the name. The message wasn't explicit, but it was intimate enough to confirm everything I feared. When I asked her about him, she brushed it off and said he was just a friend. She acted irritated that I questioned her. I kept quiet, but from that moment, I knew she wasn't being faithful. The red flags weren't red anymore. They were neon. Everything became clear one evening when she said she had a flat tire and would be home late. I already knew she was lying. They were sitting close, laughing, touching. When he told me, something inside me finally snapped into place. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell. I simply started paying attention. Screenshots, receipts, patterns. I built the truth piece by piece until the entire picture was undeniable. Then came the moment that set everything into motion. Nina came home, looking pale while clutching a pregnancy test. She told me she was pregnant and that the baby was mine. She cried, acted scared, waited for me to comfort her. But I had already seen her message thread with Ron weeks earlier where they discussed what they would do if she got pregnant. She actually wrote that she hoped I would believe it was mine because I would be a better provider. Reading that had shattered something in me, but hearing her lie to my face, watching her play innocent, was something else entirely. It lit a fire in me. I pretended to believe her. I hugged her, told her everything would be all right, told her we'd face it together. She melted into my arms, relieved. She had no idea I already knew the truth. Over the next few weeks, I played the supportive partner. I went to appointments with her, listened to her fears, acted excited. Meanwhile, I kept gathering evidence. Every inconsistency, every suspicious call, every message she deleted too late. I never planned revenge before in my life, but this time it felt necessary. Not to hurt her physically or ruin her life, just to give her exactly what she had earned. The day of her next appointment, I suggested that we invite a close friend of hers for support. Except I didn't invite her friend. I invited Ron. She didn't know that I had found his number and contacted him. All I told him was that Nina needed to tell him something important. He showed up at the clinic, confused, looking around until his eyes landed on her. The shock on her face when she saw him walk in with me was unforgettable. She stammered. She panicked. She begged me with her eyes not to make a scene. I said nothing. I simply handed Ron a small envelope filled with printed screenshots of their messages, including the one where she talked about passing the baby off as mine. The room was silent, except for the sound of him flipping through the pages. His expression changed from confusion to anger to disgust. Nina tried to explain, tried to cry her way out of it, but neither of us bought it. She realized her plan had completely collapsed. I told her calmly that I wasn't going to be part of her lies, that I hoped she would find whatever life she wanted, but it would no longer include me. I walked out. Ron walked out behind me. She stayed behind, broken by the weight of her own actions. In the months that followed, I rebuilt myself piece by piece. I took time to understand how I allowed myself to ignore so many signs. I learned to trust my instincts again. I grew stronger, clearer, more grounded. Every now and then, I would hear updates through mutual friends about how things fell apart between her and Ron shortly after. She had burned too many bridges. She had lied one too many times. Her plan to manipulate two men backfired spectacularly, just like karma always intended. I learned something powerful through all of it. Lies are heavy, and eventually they collapse on the person who builds them. Karma works quietly, but it works perfectly. And no matter how painful betrayal feels, there is always a path forward that leads to strength, peace, and a better life. Subscribe to SilkMirror for more real stories of heartbreak, revenge, and transformation.